What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one, I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I also have some very important warnings for the next few days for NIO and the overall market because we do have CPI coming out, and there is something very important you have to consider. Now, before I break anything down about NIO and the overall market, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Don't take any of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. Not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo with the link down below and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed up to 10 free stocks, each worth up to $2,500. And the best part is, out of the 10 free stocks, 5 are going to come from the wheel right here. This means that you could win 5 free AMC shares, 5 free Tesla shares, 5 free Apple shares, or a mix of all of them from this wheel. It's a limited time offer. It ends in just 5 days, so please check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So looking at NIO, this thing is currently just a little bit in the green, and we are actually a little bit more green in the after hours, but there is something I want to warn you guys about, for particularly for the end of Tuesday and more towards Wednesday, Thursday, and etc. So for next week, we have something huge coming out, all right? That is going to be the CPI report. All right, the CPI is coming out on July 13th, which is going to be Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time before the market opens. All right, now there's one problem we're seeing. And what you'll notice if you look at the increase in a lot of the things that weigh in CPI, energy is just making up such a big chunk of how it's going up. And that's why CPI tends to be much higher than PCE, because it weighs in energy a lot more. Looking at the data, look at the energy prices. What you'll notice is they've been spiking in 2022. But you'll notice that back around like May, they were this high and they continued to go higher throughout June. So if I go all the way down in the data, I know there are lots of numbers, it's hard to see. Right here for May 2022, the average gas price in the USA was $4.55. All right. For June, it was $5, a 10% increase almost, or more than a 10% increase technically. That's insane. That's insane. A 10% increase in gas prices between May and June. This next CPI report is going to come out and report June, so we're most likely going to see it hot, red hot, meaning CPI is one of the most accepted inflationary measures by the markets. So if it's high, if inflation is still peaking, it's still going up, the market will most likely not like that. The market may take a hit on Wednesday, in my opinion. Perhaps on Tuesday near the end, we may see some red as well. So I'm warning everyone right now that, look, Monday is kind of unpredictable. We have a gap down here for NIO, for the markets. You could argue that the SPY looks kind of bullish and bearish, but there are very weird things going on with SPY that I want to talk about that could really cause the market to move. But I want to warn you that, look, even if NIO and the market push up on Monday and we close really green, my warning is that on Tuesday, as we approach the close, there's uncertainty about CPI, and the market tends to not like uncertainty. Then Wednesday, we have CPI coming out, which may be red hot. So the market may end up dropping anyways. And I mentioned previously, we have all these gaps down here for NIO and a lot of big stocks in the market. I mean, the SPY also has a gap down there. So there is going to be downside, in my opinion, within the next couple of months for the markets. So I'm just warning you about that. All right. But for Monday in particular, what do I think is going to happen? Now, it depends on how you want me to kind of look at this, because if I'm just doing technical analysis is not always going to be perfect, because sometimes there are abnormalities in the marketplace. But from a technical standpoint, if you look at SPY, the volume is terrible, in my opinion. It looks very good because we've seen the SPY push up for quite some time, just like previously. But what you'll notice is when the SPY was pushing up before, we saw the volume like push up, then it started to decline, and then we just saw this big rejection, and the SPY got rejected off like 393 before. Now the SPY is currently, it tested 390, but the volume just isn't there. So this would be a bearish indication technically, but the thing is, Sometimes you could get these spikes in volume just out of nowhere. So if the volume continues to be this dry, the SPY is not going to look good, and the overall market is going to remain choppy. It may start dropping. But if the volume increases on Monday, which is still very possible, we could get a nice push up. Now, what I want to do in this video is kind of go over a more bearish and bullish possibility, and then I'm going to give you guys my prediction. So looking at the SPY, we also have a gap down here. So the SPY is going to drop in the future. It's just that it may not start on Monday. It may start maybe on Wednesday, maybe later than that. But from what I'm seeing is if the SPY breaks 393, if we somehow get a big spike in volume, this thing is going to push up, fill the gap at 401 in my opinion. It's probably going to push up to the 400s. If we break past 393 and hold that, that's going to be bullish. If we can't break 393, we get a rejection off 390, we're probably going to see a very similar move to this. We start to drop right back down to the 370s. Now, going forward, I want to actually talk about how this may affect NIO, because the entire market, like I've mentioned in previous videos, it's almost moving collectively. Look how similar the Nasdaq is to SPY. But the Nasdaq is actually, I think, a little closer to filling its gap. It's closer than it is for SPY. So the Nasdaq also has a pretty decent chance at filling its gap as well, but it really depends on the overall market. It depends on all these factors. So what do I think is going to happen? I'm a person that thinks it still is very possible for those gaps to get filled out of nowhere. But if you look at NIO from a technical standpoint, it is looking kind of, let me actually zoom out to show you this. We have this gap right here. NIO was showing resistance at $23, and now we're actually starting to downward trend right here. So we were on an upward trend, but now we're starting to get that rejection off 24 bucks, and we were trying to push up, and we had trouble to push and continue the next leg up. So now it's looking like we might get rejected off 24. That may have been our temporary peak, and we could be respecting a bit of a downward trend. Notice how $24 was our peak before, back around like May, when the market had that temporary rally. NIO had its peak at 24, got rejected, dropped down to $11. Then from $11, it pushed all the way up to 24 again, and that's where we got rejected a second time. So it's looking like okay, maybe it will touch 24 again. If that is the case, brilliant. But it's looking like this thing is set to actually start descending very, very soon, considering all these gaps. So I am a little bit more in favor of the bearish side than bullish side. It's just that I don't know when we're going to start that descension. I don't know when we're going to start dropping. I don't know if it's going to start on Monday, or if it's going to start around maybe Wednesday after the CPI reports. I think it's going to happen on Wednesday, but I just don't know about Monday. But from a technical standpoint, so far we are kind of like in this channel. So I do think NIO is going to respect this channel again on Monday. And I do think we might get a slight push into open, followed by more downside and a bit of a sell off later on. So I do think in the near term, NIO is going to fill this gap down here. NIO is going to come back down to the 20. And I see that happening probably by the middle to end of this week. With that said, I think that there's going to be one last trap. It's very possible the market makers, they try to trap a lot of retail investors. They might push the market up a little bit, all right? And by doing that, they're going to try to trick you. So let me actually draw this out for you now. Let's get to that one part. Looking at NIO, let's actually make this look smaller, just like this. What NIO could end up doing, and this is why you have to be very prepared based off these support and resistance levels. I think that into open, we're going to get a nice push to the upside, and NIO might actually start pushing up like this. And I do think it's very possible for NIO to actually touch maybe 23.5 and get a bit of a rejection off that and kind of just trade sideways for the remainder of the day. It's going to trade based off what SPY does as well. And just because we get that spike, it doesn't mean the close is going to be green either. So I see pretty much just a sideways day. I mean, I would be surprised if NIO does push up really hard. But if it does push up really hard, that's a good opportunity to start selling those covered calls and to get ready for a potential drop, because there could be a bit of a trap. So I do think we're going to see kind of like a repeat of what happened on Friday. And I do think that's essentially what's going to happen to NIO. Now, this is what I'm predicting, obviously. I just predicted pretty much a sideways day. I don't really see us picking a big direction yet. But if the SPY turns super, super bullish out of nowhere, it is possible that NIO actually pushes as high as $24 in the next upcoming days before getting a bit of a rejection. So that's another possibility to look out for. See if we could break past 23.28. Let me actually draw that out on my chart in a second. But that is just another more bullish possibility. I do find that much more unlikely. I want to actually draw out this key zone. So look at how NIO responds to 23.38. Does NIO break past it? Does NIO get rejected? If we could actually break past it and hold above that, it is possible for this thing to go as high as 24. But if we can't break around 23.28 or 23.5, kind of like in that range, like kind of like this, we might make a move more like this. And so far, that is what the chart is indicating. I mean, I do think we could be a little green, but I am anticipating more of a sideways day after that. Now, when it comes to a more bearish possibility, remember we do have this gap way down here where this yellow line is at the bottom at 20.28. So just to draw this out, we could actually start to fill that gap as well if the entire market were to turn super, super bearish. And let me just draw out that possibility as well. So what could happen is if NIO does drop, if the market turns super bearish, NIO has to hold 22.27. And if NIO can't hold 22.27, it's most likely going to drop down to 22. And 22 tends to not actually hold that strong for NIO. So it might start testing 22 and actually drop a little below that to the 21 to 21.5 levels. So that would be the most bearish possibility that I'm thinking of. And if we do end up dropping that low, we're probably going to start filling the gap, dropping down to 20. So that's how I'm seeing this market kind of playing out. Now, what's most likely going to happen? I think this is what NIO is most likely going to do just to prepare you for that. And just to remind you, if we break 23.28 and hold above that, we could end up going to the $23 to $24 level. If we break below 22.27, then we're most likely going to drop all the way down that 21.5 range, and we'll be on our way to filling the gap at 20.8. All right. And here's the last part. Do I think either of those are going to happen? I don't see that happening just yet. I do think NIO is going to get a nice push up into open, followed by some just sideways action for Monday. But then I do anticipate downside kind of like this around Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, around those days as well. So overall, this is my prediction right here. I'm predicting just basically a nice push up into open, followed by essentially just sideways action, very similar to what we saw on Friday. So that's my prediction. I didn't just say the chart will go up or down. I just gave you guys my prediction right here. So with that said, be prepared for those traps. Be prepared for anything because the market is very capricious. But I do see downside being more likely for the second half of this week and for the second half of July in total. With that said and done, thank you for listening. Be very prepared. Watch your indicators. And I will see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon and peace out.